Hi there. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to use a potentiometer to control LEDs using our Arduino. So I'm already in Tinkercad and I've got a new circuit started, but now I'm going to start adding the components that I need. Now, I want an LED, which means that I'm going to need a resistor that's 220 ohms. I need a potentiometer. So we'll be talking about what that is and how to use it in a little bit. And then the last thing that I really need is my Arduino. There we go. So, oops, got two of them. Let's get rid of one. Okay, so I've got my Arduino, I've got my potentiometer, and I've got my 220 ohm resistor and my LED. So I hook those up. Again, it doesn't really matter where they connect. I just always put it at the anode. It's just kind of a personal habit. And let's go ahead and connect this to, let's go with pin 9 right now. So I'm going to run a wire. I'm trying to run it nice and neat. I can always adjust it if I click and I kind of go at an angle. I can always grab this corner and adjust it so it's nice and neat. I want that to be red because it's going to my red LED. And then I need a wire going over to any ground on the Arduino. So I can go ahead and put that to the ground right there. Any of these GNDs, it stands for ground. We've got one up here at the top. We've got two of them down here. They're all identical. You can connect to any of them. And now my potentiometer's got 3 pins on it. One of them terminal 1, one of them terminal 2. Those are connected by a big resistor. And then what's called the wiper, the middle one here, that's what moves with this dial. This is a dial right here. And when I click start simulation, I can actually move this dial with my mouse. So it's moving that wiper from one terminal to the other. So right now that wiper is connected to terminal 1, and then there's a whole bunch of resistance between the wiper and terminal 2. And then when I turn it all the way around, it's connected to terminal 2, and then there's a whole bunch of resistance between terminal 1 and the wiper. So it's a control knob. This is actually how knobs work in a lot of devices. Is there a potentiometer? So let's start hooking this up. Obviously I'm going to need 3 wires. Now this wiper one, I'm going to be connecting it to this A5 pin. That stands for analog. So it's reading voltages here in an analog manner. So it, it can sense all these changes in the voltage. My first pin, my first terminal, I'm going to be connecting to this IO ref. Now what that IO ref does is it outputs a constant voltage so that the Arduino can read it and can go, oh, look, there's been a change here. So this is just a constant output that I'm going to be connecting. And then my terminal 2, I'm going to be connecting to the ground, either one of these grounds. Again, I can connect it to this ground up here, but I'm going to connect it to one of them down here. So nice, neat wiring. Go to that IO ref. Straighten that up, and I think I'm going to color that, red. Okay, yeah, I got another red up there, but now this one's going to be going to my A5. I'll straighten that out, and I'm going to color that one blue. Got all these great colors that we can use. I'm going to call it blue, and then this one, I'm going to go down, over, and I can cross right over top of that wire, and no harm, no foul. Straighten that up. Let's make sure that this is nice and straight. And since that's going to ground, I'm going to color it black because that's kind of a common thing for us, is when a wire is going to ground, we color it black. Okay, so I've got it wired up. So now what I need to do is get my code in here. So I like to use the text rather than the blocks. Yes, I'm going to continue. And remember, it always throws blink in there for us. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to have to turn my pin 9 on, basically. So I'm going to go pin 9 output. Again, pin 9 is where my LED is. And now the way I'm going to get this accomplished, I'm going to have to declare some, they're called integers. I'm going to have to declare some numbers here for the program to be looking at. And I'm going to do them down here in void loop. I should be able to do them up here in void setup, but I just kind of do them down here. So int stands for integer. Value, I'm going to call it val for value, equals analog read. That's a command. It's got to be a capital R. Analog read A5. So this is telling it, this is telling it to look at A5 for an analog value. Now, I think there's something up here. I think I need to have a couple spaces here, maybe. No, I don't think I do. So let's close them up. So this is telling the program, telling the Arduino to look for an analog value here at A5. So looking at A5 for an analog value and call it this variable called val. Now, this A5, it reads a value between 0 and 1023. Now, I'll be totally honest. I don't know why it reads 0 to 1023, but it gives you a lot of room when you've got that many numbers. But the LED only puts out between 0 and 255. So these things are not exactly talking together well. So I'm going to have to do a thing called map. Okay, so I'm gonna do another integer, just like this one. I'm gonna do another integer. I'm gonna call it red, and I'll explain why I'm calling it red in a little bit, but it does mean for my red LED. Now here's the map command. It literally just map, and this is a feature. It does some math, and it takes that val. Okay, so the next thing I've got to tell it what the heck I'm mapping. So I'm mapping this integer up above called val, and so it's supposed to be a comma. Val goes from 0 to 1023, but I want to change those. I want it, instead of being 0 to 1023, I want it to be a number between 0 and 255. So this command here, I'm going to put a note here. This is how we add notes in Arduino code. Changes val from 0 to 23 to 0 to 255. So it's like a little note to myself in the future, or that's going to be a double there. Now it's a comment, so it's going to ignore that. See how it's orange? So this is just a little note. What the heck this is doing? It's changing value, changing val from being 0 to 23 to 0 to 255. So it makes these talk better. So now here's the key. I want this potentiometer to not just turn the LED on, but I want it to actually like turn it on like a dimmer switch. So I'm going to analog, oops, I can spell, I can't type. I'm going to analog right. Okay, so we analog red A55. We're going to analog right to pin 9. And what we're going to write to it is this new integer value red. And you got to make sure that every command's got this semicolon at the end. So I've got my pin mode. I'm basically telling it you're going to be using pin 9. And then in my void loop, I declared this integer called value. That's like a variable. I could just use a single for that, but I run out of letters before I run out of words. So it's going to look at A5, and then I have to change that over from being a number from 0 to 1023 to a number between 0 and 255. And then whatever that number is, whatever that new number is, write it to pin 9 so that it turns this pin 9 on. So let's move our code out of the way and let's start this simulation. Okay, now I probably should have waited and not closed my code, because it will tell me if I've got any errors if I don't close it. So my LED is on right now, and then as I turn my knob, it should be getting dimmer. Now if you just rip it over, you got to give it some time to work. And you can see that the LED fades out as I turn this knob, and then it fades on as I turn the knob the other way. Now, I don't love this. I don't love this. I want this to be off, and I want this to be on. Now, I could fix that in the wiring, but no, I think I'm going to fix this in the code. I think I'm going to make it so that this is on over here, and this is off over here. So I can do that in my code. I stop my simulation, and I open up my code. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these two numbers. Right now, this 0 from the potentiometer is going to 0. This 1023 is being mapped to 255. I can flip this so that the 0 becomes 255. So now the 0 right here becomes 255. And the 1023 gets turned to 0, and it does all the math for me in between. So the order of these numbers matters. This has to match what it's seen, and then the order that I put these numbers in tells the program where to put stuff. So if I click Start Simulation now, if I had had a problem in my code, it would tell me. But now my LED is off, and then as I turn it this way, the LED turns on. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to create a slightly different circuit. I want your circuit to have two LEDs, a blue and a red. Now let me remember, that's got to be 220 ohms. And you need to wire it to a different pin. Maybe use pin 10 along with pin 9, or maybe use pin 8. And what I want this to do is, as the knob turns on my potentiometer, I want the two LEDs to swap back and forth. So when the red is on, the blue is off. When the blue is on, the red is off. So you got to wire it properly, and then you're going to have to put a new pin mode in here. You can leave this alone, this is fine, but then you're going to have to put a new declaration right here, and let's call it blue equals map. So you're going to have a second one here for the blue LED, and then you're going to have to analog write. So to this code, you're going to have to add a pin mode. You're going to have to add this new blue equals map command. And this is obviously not done. There's a whole bunch of stuff right here to type. And then you're going to have to add an analog write. Now, we need to change the way that we're turning stuff in, because the sharing like this, where you just invite people, this has been really hit or miss. For some people it's working great. For some people I can't see the circuit. So what I want to do instead, if we click on share, you can download a snapshot of your design. So it goes over here to your downloads folder, And in the Google Classroom, what I would like you to do is there's a document that you can paste the picture into, and then you can copy your code, and there's a box for you to paste your code into. So if you got any problems on how to do that, let me know. But instead of sharing the link like we were before, I want you to download a picture of your circuit, and that's going to get pasted into a Google Doc. And then I want you to copy your code. You can just highlight it and hit Control C for copy, and then you can paste it into that Google Doc. So that's how we're going to be doing it from now on. So good luck. I hope you're enjoying this. I do love playing with Tinkercad myself. Sometimes I get a little lost in it, and I spend a little bit too much time. I hope you're having fun. I hope you're all healthy. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week.